review anything, freedom to criticize, review anything, freedom to criticize, review anything, doesn't matter what it is, make your opinion heard, even if you sound absurd, keep away from the octopus tentacles.
Hello, chums. Welcome to Review Anything, the show where we review everything and anything. My name is Sour Apple, and I will be your host. Now then, let's switch on the review generator, shall we, and see what we're reviewing today. Jimmy Neutron, the 2001 animated flick about an ice cream head, child prodigy, and his sci-fi adventure.
Let's begin by pointing out the first thing that's worth looking at here. Jimmy Neutron as a character is a tired old concept in the cartoon universe, because super smart children have been done to death, and the biggest problem with this film's take on the subgenre of child prodigy adventures is that it's a rehash of Dexter's Laboratory. While Jimmy Neutron is a sugar-coated, forgettable animation, Dexter's Lab was a brooding and imaginative series full of whimsy and unusual stories, so it's pretty obnoxious for Jimmy Neutron to step forth as a poor imitation.
If you think I'm being nitpicky, think again.
Jimmy Neutron is about an intelligent, awkward, and nerdy boy with his own laboratory, which happens to be the exact same premise as Dexter's Lab. Now that I've gotten that complaint out of the way, let us begin. The film opens with a pilot spotting Jimmy flying into the sky in a homemade rocket ship. The pilot is wearing an oxygen mask, because he is most likely thousands of feet into the sky, where the oxygen level is thin. So why isn't Jimmy Neutron wearing an oxygen mask, let alone a seatbelt? Is he superhuman? This is the first of many scientific inconsistencies in this film. A film about science. Jimmy flies into space with his friend Carl to release a video message attached to a toaster. Don't ask. Jimmy has the budget of a trauma movie. He crashes back down to Earth to come home to disappointed parents, which leads to my first compliment for the film. Jimmy's father is hilarious. He's a dad that's optimistic and finds it hard to be stern on his son.
Oh, you've got to admit that is pretty neat. But very unsafe, honey. That's bad.
Then, using his latest invention, Jimmy heads off to school. Once at school, we are introduced to Jimmy's rival Cindy as she rants about how girls have always been better than boys, even since the prehistoric age. And trust me, this gender hatred runs thick throughout the movie. We are then introduced to Sheen, one of Jimmy's friends, a Mexican student obsessed with the Ultralord franchise.
This one is different. This Purple Vengeance version with power fist and nuclear knees is in rare, never-been-seen condition, making it highly collectible.
We are then introduced to yet another character in the form of Bad Boy Nick, who I swear is destined to be a Jersey Shore star in the future. Jimmy then shows off his shrink ray invention, only for it to backfire. However, as Jimmy leaves his lesson, the ray finally works and hits his teacher. A running subplot begins. No, I'm not kidding. The film often cuts back to this silly little bit. As Jimmy and his friends walk home, they come across a poster for a new theme park, which unfortunately opens on a school night. Nick encourages them to sneak out, but Jimmy finds this unethical and decides that he and his friends must bribe their parents into letting them go. So the oh-so-clever Jimmy steals oysters from a store, coal from a senile train driver, flowers from a stranger's bush sculpture. Okay, so sneaking out of the house is wrong, Jimmy, but theft is totally fine, right? Yes? Jimmy then enters his laboratory, where one of his inventions is a girl-eating plant.
Wait, what? A girl-eating plant? I know little girls and little boys have a grudge against each other, but to the extent of, cooties, they never actually have the intention to murder one another.
I swear this kid is fucked up. In 20 years' time, he'll be trying to steal from banks to fund his machines to kill women. It turns out that the oysters were stolen in order to make pearls, and Jimmy stole the coal in order to create a diamond. These, along with the flowers Jimmy had stolen, turned out to be bribes intended for his mother. But his plan fails miserably. In desperation, Jimmy searches for an alternative gift in his school backpack, only to set off his jetpack. You know, for a genius, he's pretty stupid for keeping his jetpack in there. Meanwhile, Jimmy's toaster is found by a race of egg-like aliens. The aliens watch Jimmy's video message, which bores them, and the king's interest lies in Jimmy's parents.
Mom, Dad!
Freeze that image!
They look delicious.
Meanwhile, back on Earth, Jimmy is grounded and realizes that he must rely on sneaking out to attend the opening of the theme park. Using his shrink ray, Jimmy escapes his house and heads to the theme park. What's frightening, though, is that the only staff member we see at the park is a fellow in an Ultra-Lord costume. No one seems to be attending the right entrances. Jimmy and his friends go on perhaps the most dangerous ride I've ever seen. There's no safety rails on it, and surely the height restriction on this monstrous coaster would be too high for these children. Hang on, is that fire? What kind of madman runs a theme park that has unattended rides full of pyrotechnics? Anyway, we then cut to the parents having a talk with who they think is Jimmy, but is really his robot dog, hidden under the covers, recording their every word.
I know you're upset. We don't like to punish you. You're such a special boy. Oh.
Moments later, the aliens invade Earth and abduct the parents of Retroville. Why just the parents of Retroville, I don't know.
Guys, you do know that the whole of our planet is made up of parents. I mean, even some of the children are parents too. It's a fucked up Earth.
Jimmy wakes up the next day to find his parents gone. In fact, all the children in the city discovered their parents are gone too. Everyone's parents left a stenciled letter informing their kids that they've gone to Florida. Jimmy discovers that there are no parents at all in the city of Retroville, which means that the city is completely adult-free.
Hang on, so the whole of Retroville is populated by parents? What kind of dystopian city is this? Do they execute single virgins on sight?
I know that we as the audience are aware that their parents have been abducted by aliens, but the level of chaos that the kids make is quite reckless considering the fact that they think their parents are on holiday in Florida. You'd think they'd be more careful about what their parents would come back to. To top that off, they play with damn fireworks. The next morning, Jimmy wakes up outside his school feeling ill. Nick taunts him for being unable to handle a night of candy and soda.
Ugh. Nick, you cocky little prick. You're about as wild and rebellious as a Skittles-fueled toddler. Stop acting like that lollipop is a cigarette, and wait until you get to a college party before you feel so proud for stomaching cookies and cola. Ugh.
In addition, children have also taken over the Retroville news. Surely someone near the region of Retroville would have caught this broadcast and gone, what the fuck? Jimmy comes home to discover that Goddard has a recording of his parents before they were abducted.
Son, your mother and I just wanted to say goodnight.
Yes, and to tell you that we love you.
We only do what we do because we love you.
Maybe we can all go to Retroland next weekend. The three of us.
What about my fabulous dog, Goddard?
Sure, your fabulous dog Goddard, too. Well, good night, son.
Good night, Jimmy. Sweet dreams. We'll see you in the morning.
Okay, so they said goodnight. In the morning? Hey, wait a minute! Play back the last part again. Audio only.
Good night, Jimmy. Sweet dreams. We'll see you in the morning.
There. Now, why would she say that if they weren't going to be here? Come on, Goddard, we're going to the lab.
If you ask me, Goddard is a bit of a bastard for not showing that recording sooner before Jimmy and his friends trash their city. So Jimmy adds up that everyone's parents have been abducted by aliens, and everyone starts building their own ships so they can rescue their mums and dads. So of course the children take precautions by wearing spacesuits. Right, what about oxygen masks? Kids, what are you doing? Wait.
They can breathe in space! Do they have lungs of steel and flesh of the gods? They can breathe in space!
And so these godlike children stop by the moon for a sleep, which is pretty dumb seeing as the moon can reach extreme temperatures. Heck, they don't even have any sleeping bags. However, I will say that this scene is quite sweet, as the kids lament about their parents.
You know, we should have never wished on that star, Jimmy, because I miss my folks.
My mom used to tuck me in bed every night before she was abducted by aliens.
Before my dad was abducted by aliens, he would always read me to sleep.
And before my mom was abducted by aliens, she would rub my tummy and she'd sing. What? Nothing.
The kids then later wake up and head back on their journey through space. Ugh. Seriously, how can they breathe in space? Humans leaving the Earth is as dangerous as a fish leaving the water. Is the director aware of this? The kids then arrive on the aliens' planet, but are no match for them. The aliens explain how Jimmy's video message influenced them to kidnap their parents in order to sacrifice them to their chicken god. The kids are then thrown in a prison, as we get another surprisingly sweet scene between Cindy and Jimmy in the cell.
Jimmy, you there? Look, don't listen to them. They're just scared. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Don't be so hard on yourself. We'll get out of this. Okay, so you made a mistake. Beating yourself up isn't gonna fix anything. You know, I was the smartest kid in school until you came along. And I admit you know more about some things than I do. But I know one thing that you don't seem to get. And that's that we're never getting out of here without you. So why don't you buck up, mister? And put that big brain of yours back to work. Nick can handle the fighting stuff, but first we have to get out of this cell.
Cindy? Why are you being so nice to me?
Because there's a bunch of kids in here that need you. And I do too.
So Jimmy helps everyone escape as they find their parents about to be sacrificed to the music of the Birdie song by the Tweets. Isn't that a song from Earth? Did the aliens go down to our planet in advance to get rights for the track? How awkward would have that been? The children take on the aliens as we realize they are pretty brittle.
Well, come here, you. I can't see, you can't see! You want some? You want some? You want a piece of me?
I didn't think so.
The kids then help their parents escape using a stolen alien spacecraft. They are tailed by the king and even fly above the sun in an epic chase.
Yet the sun doesn't make them hot, let alone melt. Were these children of Retroville born from the anus of Zeus himself?
So Jimmy uses his shrink ray to reach a scale larger than the alien ship and blows them away. Why didn't he use his ray in the first place to solve this conflict? Anyway, despite all this, Jimmy claims to have learnt a lesson. He says that he's learnt he can't do things without his parents.
Yet Jimmy accomplished so much without the help of his parents. So what kind of lesson is that?
And so the film ends with a rather pointless scene where Jimmy's mum drinks some soda that makes you burp. Yes, I too find that a very unoriginal invention.
Boy, it's a scorcher out there. Oh, thanks, honey.
So that was Jimmy Neutron, boy genius.
I admit that it's not that bad. The problem is that it may be a cartoon, but it's a film based around the power of science, and it fails miserably in reflecting the importance of science by abandoning scientific logic. Animated sci-fi comedy, for example, the Looney Tunes, could get away with ditching logic because it wasn't about science. But Jimmy Neutron is the main character, and the focus is on his knowledge of science, so it feels a bit wrong watching a budding scientist being oblivious to the rules of science itself. Jimmy himself is boring as hell. He's quite reckless and stupid for an apparent genius. The supporting characters are forgettable, with the exception of Jimmy's father, who serves brief comic relief at times. The idea of the aliens being eggs that worship chickens is a clever idea, but the aliens themselves have dull designs. However, there are some tender moments between the characters, and the film coined an animation style that has made critics compare films to Jimmy Neutron's aesthetics. In particular, the Danish horror comedy Turkel in Trouble.
After the release of this film came 2 TV series. One was The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, and the other was Planet Sheen. I've been your host, Sour Apple. If you have any suggestions for another review, please comment below. Goodbye!